for it. Let's move on to talking about Aston Villa being beaten at Bournemouth. Tyrone Mings only on the bench. After the game, BBC local radio asked Steven Gerrard about dropping Mings, and this is what he said.
I think people might talk about that. I think the easy thing to do after the defeat is look at the people that weren't on the pitch. We had enough quality on the pitch today to win this game. I'm confident of that. I've got full belief. When Tyrone is back at his best, looks at me in the eye and shows me that he's ready to play, he'll get opportunities.
Is that a reflection of how he's reacted to the captaincy, or are you talking about an injury as well?
A little bit of that, and he's also missed some training time with an injury, and there's a niggle in the background as well.
He's a good character, so you're hoping he'll get back to his normal self?
Yeah, 100%. That's the challenge I've set him when I made the decision over the captaincy. We set him that challenge. We said to Tyrone, you get back to your consistent best and you'll be back in the team. You know, we haven't lost the game because Tyrone Mings wasn't playing today for sure, but we want Tyrone to get back to his best physically, so he needs to get rid of the niggle and show on the training pitch that he's back to his best, and I'm sure there'll be an opportunity there for him.
Steve Herman of BBC West Midlands putting the questions to Steven Gerrard. What's your overview, Rory, of the Villa situation?
Yeah, that is slightly confusing to me, to be honest. The Gerrard's reaction, if there is a slight injury problem, as he seems to be hinting, then is that not fairly obviously the reason that Tyrone Mings might not be ready? Why turn it into like a personality thing? That seems like a slightly unnecessary washing of dirty linen in public to me, to be perfectly honest. And I'm not... I would imagine that Mings is a fairly central character in that dressing room, and that's an interesting fight to pick.
I'm flabbergasted, to be honest. I just thought, because Mings is well loved by the dressing room, by all accounts, and the Villa fans seem to love him as well. And he tweeted when he lost the captaincy, and he seemed to took it well. He's gone to my good mate, John McGinn. Couldn't be happy for him. But it's not like Gerrard to... He sort of threw him under the bus a little bit there. You know, when it... And normally when Gerrard, you agree with everything what he said, he's normally straight to the point, direct. He feels as though he's a manager that will deal with anything, you know, internal, in the dressing room. But he sort of just put the feelers out there that, there's a little bit more, to be honest. And for someone in the group, but look, he's a manager. He's got to make the decision. And if he's carrying a niggle, and anyone would take losing the captaincy, not good. I mean, come on, that's just a natural reaction. But I just feel for both Mings and Gerrard, they could have kept that internal. It didn't need to. Maybe Gerrard was frustrated because they just lost the game, and he would ask the question and he'd just give an honest answer. But normally, the way Gerrard's handled himself, he normally keeps that between the groups. So yeah, very interesting.
I think Micah and Rory have pretty much nailed it. Why? You know, why has Steven Gerrard come out? And I'm with Micah on, he's probably aggravated. He's done, a number of interviews. His team have lost, which a game we all expected against Bournemouth, that Villa would start the season strongly. There was a poor end to last season. I think the expectation levels at Villa are really high. Surprised me a little bit that Steven Gerrard said that, he wants a top half finish. I think with the money invested when he took over from Dean Smith, it was all about getting to the next level and making that next step. They haven't done that. The pressure's on this season. I think, he signed a couple of players. He's put his faith in Coutinho. I just don't understand all this. When Tyrone looks me in the eye, what's the benefit for Steven Gerrard saying that? It's an unnecessary fight to pick, and now he's probably got an enemy within the dressing room in Tyrone Mings. How influential is he with the other players around him? He didn't have to say it. What I used to like about Kenny Dalglish, Martin O'Neill, all my managers, really, well, not all of them. I didn't really like Gordon Strachan, but what I used to like about O'Neill and Dalglish is, if Steven Gerrard wanted to say that to Tyrone Mings, he can have a conversation with Tyrone Mings. But once you put that out into the public domain, he's left himself wide open now. What's the big issue?
it must have had that conversation, and it must be reoccurring, because you wouldn't, if you have that conversation once, it's fine between player and manager. We've been there, Chris, in the dressing room, or
It's fine, yeah.
But after a game, you have that. You have arguments, you have disagreements, and it's not. But for him to then go to the media and say that, it must have been more than once. And this is not me speculating, but Gerrard doesn't normally do this, and Mings is so powerful within being the captain for the last how many years. It was just strange. So yeah, I want to see how that unfolds, to be honest.
Max Stokes is from the Villa on Tour YouTube channel and joins us on the Monday Night Club. Evening, Max.
Good evening, lads.
Worried?
Yeah, a little bit. Just listening to you guys there, I think you're saying the right thing. I don't really understand it. I don't know why he's had to come out and say that after a dismal performance on the South Coast, where none of the players who are on the pitch stood out. I don't know why he's got to dig out Mings, and even leading up to the Bournemouth game, before the game was even played, he was bigging up Mings and saying how he's reacted well. And from a Villa fan's perspective, Mings is the model professional. He's fantastic. He does all the right things on and off the pitch. I just don't really understand it at all.
We got this tweet from Kean that says Gerrard's on a very sticky wicket. The fans aren't fools. He's handled the Mings thing terribly, banishing players from the first team and playing favourites despite being woefully out of form. At this stage, are you sort of saying that if fans had to choose, they'd be more on Mings' side than Gerrard's?
Yeah, probably. I think Gerrard has got a lot to prove. I don't think he's got too much credit in the bank. I think, especially last season, a lot of fans are saying, since Gerrard came in sort of October, November time, we'd be ninth in the Premier League. But I don't really buy that, because some of the football that we watched, going away to Newcastle and not showing anything, that was one of the worst performances last season, losing at home to a Watford side that was one of the worst sides the Premier League's ever seen. We lost at home to them. We haven't seen a lot of things to go off with Gerrard, and that's why I think there's a lot of pressure on him this season. And if this carries on, if we lose against Everton, I'm not overreacting. It's just because Bournemouth was that bad, and this thing with Mings on top, I think he's got a lot to think about. Gerrard, there's a lot of pressure on him.
So Max, would Mings be in your starting lineup, even with the what would your starting centre back pairing be?
I think going into Bournemouth, that was probably the biggest talking point for me. I think I would have gone with Diego Carlos and Callum Chambers. I think ever since Chambers has come in, he's done nothing wrong. He's been absolutely fantastic. Man City, last game of the season, yes, we collapsed, but he was a standout in that game. He was fantastic. Whenever he's played, he's been spot on. Mings gets a lot of stick from the Villa fan base. He's very 50-50. The argument is, yes, he's a fantastic leader, but he can make a mistake, and that's why I would have gone with Carlos and Chambers. But look, at the weekend, Carlos was terrible. Konsa, who started, was terrible. So I don't think any of them have got too much credit in the bank at this point. So the whole Mings thing, I don't really get it. I think he's on a level playing field with all of them.
At least with Mings, though, you do get that responsibility on corners. He's aggressive. The organisation that I feel Villa sometimes lack when he's not playing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing at the weekend. Gerrard said that if Mings plays, he probably wouldn't have changed the result, but I'll probably disagree with that. Kiefer Moore for Bournemouth, fantastic at the weekend. He really, really was, and we made him look brilliant. The second goal, he was free as a bird, 6'5", Kiefer Moore. I don't understand why he's as free as he was. The first goal as well, first set piece of the season, and we just look confused. They were saying in the week leading up to the game, we've been working on set pieces. That you wouldn't be able to tell. Set pieces at the weekend were absolutely terrible, and Tyrone Mings gives you that. We've got Diego Carlos at the back there, who's doesn't speak a word of English. He's a new player in a new league, new country. Mings, being the captain in the past, he probably would have settled him a little bit. Konsa, who was next to him, is quiet. We know that. Doesn't speak up too much on the pitch. So I just think Mings next to Carlos in that game probably would have done a little bit better. But yeah, set pieces at the weekend were absolutely terrible from us.
Do you think Stephen? Do you think Steve? Sorry, Roy. Do you think Steven Gerrard is feeling the pressure? It's one game, but it was a bit of an open goal, I suppose, which is a little bit unfair because Bournemouth got themselves promoted. But I suspect Villa fans expected a fast start because it was against Bournemouth.
Yeah, 100%. I think that there is a lot of pressure on Gerrard, and I know it's the first game, and people might be thinking, Villa fans are overreacting, but I think it's going off last year as well. I get that, this is Gerrard's first pre-season. He's had his transfer window. He's got in his men. He's got his golden boy Coutinho. That's fantastic. But going off the end of last season as well, it was disappointing at the end of the season as well. Failing to beat a relegated Burnley side at home, just struggling, winning 6 games at home all season simply isn't good enough. So I think that there has been a lot of pressure going into this new season to start off fast. And everyone's been talking about Bournemouth, and no disrespect to them, fantastic, well done to them at the weekend. They outplayed us, but they've got a championship squad. They've signed 1 or 2 players, and it simply shouldn't be happening with the signings we've made and the relatively positive pre-season we've got. So a lot of pressure on Gerrard for sure from the hierarchy at Villa.
Kind of 10 months in then, with quite a lot of money spent, can you see what Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa might look like? Do you get a sense of where he's trying to go?
I think that's the problem, because the answer's no, really. I think at the weekend there didn't seem to be a plan. I think when you go 1-0 down inside 2 minutes, you've got to see a reaction. You've got to see a plan, and we just didn't really see that. In the whole second half, we were just lumping crosses into the box aimlessly from the fullbacks. There just didn't really seem to be any sort of plan whatsoever, and I think that's the worrying thing for me, because we've had this whole pre-season, you've got in this new number 6 in Kamara, which we were all crying out for, but the midfield is still a massive issue because Kamara's there by himself. John McGinn, the new skipper, had a terrible game. Jacob Ramsey, youngster, massive season for him. He disappointed. There just doesn't seem to be any identity to Villa. I think that's the problem.
Should they have stuck with Dean Smith then?
Oh, David, you're so mischievous, Chris.
Honestly, God.
Did he think what did he say what I thought he said there? Stick with Dean Smith.
Should you have stuck with Dean Smith? How did the Villa fans feel about that?
No, I think it was the right time for Smith to go. I think it was getting a little bit stale, losing 5 games in a row. You can't do that. And I think when Gerrard first came in, this is the thing, that there was a reaction. There really was. We took Liverpool at Anfield, right to the end. They only beat us 1-0 with a slightly controversial penalty. We took Man City right to the end at home at Villa Park in his second game, I think it was. We were going up against these big top sides, and we've lost that. We've lost that now. Bournemouth have come up and done an absolute job on us. So I just can't see where we're going at the moment. And I'm not overreacting. I know, look, if we beat Everton on Saturday, everything changes, but it's a sticky one now.
Just been one game though. That's all. Yeah.
Exactly. But look, like I said, if we beat Everton at the weekend, everything changes. But you've got to do that first.
And Steven Gerrard's lost.
And if you do that, go on.
He's lost Michael Beale, hasn't he? Who was a big part of the coaching setup. He's taken over at QPR. I just wonder how much of a loss he is to Steven.
And
absolutely.
And if Matt.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, sorry, Max. If you do beat Everton next week, then next week we'll be doing 20 minutes on Everton in crisis. So that's kind of how it works. Thank you very much for coming on, Max.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Max Stokes from the Villa on Tour YouTube channel. At the same time, we're talking about Tyrone Mings. Connor Cody is at Everton, photographed at their training ground